Hello and welcome to my podcast. My name is Mel and this is a Fibre based podcast mostly around knitting and spinning with a few other bits and pieces thrown in there. This is my second episode, so if you have seen my first one, thank you for coming back, and if this is the first time you've seen, hi. Okay, my name is Mel. I'm usually found around the internet as Mad Madam Mel, and you can find me in the usual social media places, but I'm mostly active on Instagram. I have an Etsy shop where I sell my hand-dyed and hand-spun yarns. I botanically dye yarns, and when I'm not doing that, me and my husband and our two kitties, which are up there, live on a small holding on Orkney, which is a small group of islands off the north coast of Scotland. And when I'm not spinning or knitting or doing something fibre, I'm usually, well, sometimes outside when it's not cold, working on where we grow our own vegetables, and we keep chickens and ducks as well. We're also renovating our property, so one day we will have a pretty cottage. We do have a pretty cottage. One day it'll be finished and then I will have more spinning and knitting time. Okay, so this is episode 2. So whilst the kitties are in shot, I shall introduce you. We've got this one here. I have to excuse the sun. It's a really bright sunny day today. So if the sun gets too far around, I'm going to have to move my tripod. This is Willow. She's a tortoiseshell. And this is Holly. She's black and white and she's got long fur. And they are about 5.5 months old. And yeah, they're our kitties. So, moving on to the main part of the podcast. Maybe I should say a bit more about myself. I had something different from last time. I should mention something new every episode. Let's think. When I'm not doing homesteading and when I'm not fibre stuff, I actually am training with my local roller derby league. We have one. We're called the Orkney Queens. So you can check us out on Facebook and find out what we're up to. And roller derby seems to become really in quite a few areas of the media at the moment, but that is what I do 3 nights a week when I am not at home. So, okay, now move on to the main part of the podcast. First of all, finished objects. Are they fighting in the background? Are you fighting? The kittens are fighting. Now they're making up. Okay, finished objects. First of all, I finished my autumn socks that I showed on the last episode. All the way. That should be focused. Yeah. I did eye of partridge heel and a 1x1 rib with a is it Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off, which is my preferred bind off, and there are 2 of them, it isn't just a one thing. And the pattern I used was this one, which is Vanilla Sock with Gusset and Choice of Reinforced Heel by Johto, and you can't really see them on the picture because I print them in black and white for my own use. Generally, not always, but generally. So that's my go-to sock pattern at the moment, and I really like these. I've been waiting to show these before I can actually wear them, so I'm looking forward to putting these on later because I don't have to go to roller derby tonight. If I was going skating tonight I wouldn't bother, but yeah, these are my preferred thing. And the yarn I use, I've got to try and remember because I don't think I've got it to hand. It's the Superbar or Superba Bamboo by Rico Designs, and the colourway, if I'm right, is 311, and it's called, no it's not, it's called, I'm not sure what the code is, I'm thinking of a different yarn. It's definitely the Superba or Superbar Bamboo, and the colourway is khaki tan, something like that. Anyway, I've really struggled to get hold of it, but I really like it, and it's got shades of like different shades of beige and brown, but also this kind of maroony colour in here, which I really like. And then there's a little bit of the, I don't know if it's going to show very well, this green. It's like a khaki green, and it's just really beautiful. And these were what really set me off with sock knitting. A couple of years ago I was visiting my mum in the Lake District, and we went to Penrith, I believe, and went into a yarn shop there, and they had a pair of these knitted up in amongst the yarn that was for sale. Unfortunately, she didn't have any of this in stock, so I ended up having to buy it online. But I really like it. So that's my first finished object. The second finished object is a spinning finished object, and this is another one I was part done on the last episode. It is a Halloween colourway spun yarn, so it's a spinning finished object. And it's got shades of green and green and like a pale orange and like a lavender purple and what looks like black but isn't actually. It's like it's not quite a navy blue. It's like a navy blue, but it's got almost a cobalty colour to it. You can't, I'm not going to be able to get that to focus, but I think it works quite well in that if it was black, maybe a bit too stark against the other colours. So I spun up two 50-gram skeins separately because I'm intending to turn these into socks, but they will be house socks. These came, that was the lamp getting adored by a kitten. It'll be fine. I'll pick it up afterwards. It was a mystery pot that I got with different fibres in. I know some of it is merino, I can tell. Some of it isn't, but I'm guessing it's something like Corridale. So they're not going to be very hardy. They won't be an everyday sock, so I might change my mind yet. I might knit something else entirely. But the plan is to make a pair of socks, and I've spun them to kind of a DK weight more on average. So they'll definitely be more of a cozy sock if I do make socks. So that's my first spinning finished object. Next, cats. I decided on another spinning project. I'm on quite a spinning buzz right now, and I used one of the braids of roving I got as part of my Christmas box to make up this yarn, and it is gorgeous. I'm really pleased with it. I wanted quite a rustic autumnal yarn. I got it's quite and it's a chunky weight, like a bulky weight, which I kind of struggle with because my go-to is more of a DK weight, or somewhere between a finger and an aran, depending on the fibre, but it's usually about a DK weight. But I specifically wanted a bulky yarn with this. Now, a couple of years ago, let's just talk about the yarn first. It's 100% superwash Blueface Leicester, and it came from, created by LCB over in America, and the colourway is Spiced Cider, and it's 25 micron superwash BFL, and I got 94 yards worth of it. Spun up. Okay, a couple of years ago I requested my sister to knit me a beanie and wristies for Christmas, a cable in one of her colourways that she knits with. She sells her own knitwear. It's Drifting Gypsies Fibre Craft on Facebook, I believe. And she knitted it in like a different autumnal tone yarn that she uses. It's got like reds and oranges and greens and gold and so on, and I really liked it. But I don't have a cowl to wear at the same time, so I wanted to do a cowl to go with the set. I've been wearing a big brown cowl that I knit a couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago, but it was too big at the time, and it's because it's knitting a single. If I rip back, it's just going to fall apart. So I wanted something that's quite a lot snugger. So I decided to spin this up as a bulky, so I can use it to knit. If I can find the pattern, I did have the pattern. I have got the pattern. I'm going to knit. I'm going to try not get the whole instructions in short, but I'm going to knit myself a twig cowl. Now I knit one of the, and this is by Tiny Owl Knits, Stephanie Dawson. I made one for a friend for a Secret Santa a few years back, and it was my first bit of cable work at the time, but I've never actually made myself one, so I'm going to use this to make that. And the way I spun it, I kind of done a simple fractal spin. All I did was because of the way the roving is, it runs, the colourway runs from one end to the middle and then reverse to the other end. So I pulled it in half that way, and so they're both the same from one end to the other. And I spun one half all the way through to the end, and the other half I split into 4 sections, and that was spun end to end. Now, because I actually did this as a centre pull ball, applied this from a centre pull ball, so I went, imagine, because there's golds and red, imagine it's like red, green, gold, white. So I spun red, green, gold, white, and then I spun the other ones white, gold, green, red, white, gold, green, red, and so on, and then wound it off into a centre pull ball, and then plied from the outside and the inside. So basically when they plied in the same colour run, because it kind of folded like that. And so it's kind of like a semi-fractal. It's not, I guess, I don't know, is it classed as a true fractal? People would say it isn't. Technically it is. You separate it into fractions, it's a fractal. So that's what I've done. So I'll get some where the colour will apply on itself more, like that there. Well, that's not probably a good example. Yeah, I suppose it's kind of the golds applied on together there. But then you'll get some which is completely opposite. So that'll be really nice. So I'll get this kind of drip. The plan is that I'll get a kind of mottled effect, but with a kind of a gradual fade of different colours as well, hopefully. So that's what my other finished object. I don't know if I have another finish. Yes, I have another finished object. So I'll just pop that down there. My other finished object is actually knitting one, and I should have said this first. Now, it's a finished object and a refinished object. Years ago I knit a cowl, my first cowl as opposed to a scarf, out of some yarn that I got from a local yarn shop, and it was Sidar, I don't know how to pronounce that, denim tweed in plum duff colourway, and I knit a cowl. No, I crocheted a cowl even, and I loved that cowl. Completely converted me to cowls over scarves. I can wear it around the house and the ends don't dangle everywhere. And after a couple of years, and I had loads, I'd held the yarn double because it's like a DK weight. Well, I bought the DK weight and I held it double. And a couple of years after that, I still had a load of this yarn left. So I made a pair of wrist warmers, and I still had some left. I thought, okay. So I'll knit a hat. What I decided to do was knit a hat based upon the one that, the red tam hat in the Secret Garden movie with Kate Mabley in it, from when I was a kid. And so I did, and I found a pattern, and I started, and I can't remember who did the pattern. It was on Craftsy, I think. I'll try and remember to put the link down anyway. And I started knitting the hat, and I got to about, and this is the hat, and I got to about here, and I ran out of yarn. If I'd not done the wristies, I wouldn't have run out of yarn. I ran out of yarn. So I made up a yarn, 2 strands held together, based, there was like a purple that was kind of similar, like a plummy purple, and like an off-white, and I held them together and I knit the rest, and then I ran out of yarn, so I just pulled it the end together like you're supposed to at the end and made do. But I never wore it because I didn't like it. I didn't like the brim, the way it fit. It was too big. I didn't like the hat was too short, really, so it never really stayed on your head, and it just looked awful. It didn't look awful, but I wasn't keen on it. I wasn't happy with it. Cat's being a pest. Sorry about that. She was attacking the curtains. She's still attacking the curtains. Well, she's finished. Okay, so I wasn't happy with it. So this is a long story. I don't mean it to be. Okay, so I decided to frog it. And this came about because I cut a friend's hair a couple of weeks back. Bear with me. Okay, I've just got it. She was climbing the curtain. She's a bit heavy for that. Yeah, I cut a friend's hair and she says, what do I want in return for it? And I said, tell you what, go to this particular shop that's local to, and I said, just buy me some yarn, because, you know, yarn. So she did, and she bought me, let's move some bits, she bought me 2 balls of this, a la Foss, it's Lopi. It's the chunky Lopi. And she bought me 2 of this colourway, which is dusk red. And she bought me 2 in this colourway, which is oxblood. See the difference? So one's a bit, it's not showing up very well, but this one's definitely of a red, and this one's more of a, like a burgundy, like a wine colour. But they're kind of both looking the same. If I try and swap it, they're both looking the same. Okay, that's a bit better. So I thought, oh, what can I use this for? So I had a look round on my Ravelry favourites, which is huge, and at what there was in chunky weight. And one of them was the hat that I'd originally knit. This one was in a chunky. I thought, ooh. Now the one in the Secret Garden is red. I always wanted a red one, but I didn't have any red yarn when I made it, and I was just using up yarn. I could make a red one. So that's what I'm planning on doing. I've swatched, the other ball isn't here because I've been swatching with it. But it got me thinking, I've made this pattern before, so I went and dug it out and decided it's no good just sitting around, it's not been worn. So what I did was I frogged out the wristies, which I never wear because I have other wristies I prefer. And I picked up the stitches below the ribbing, and I unwound all of the ribbing. It would have been quicker just to unfrog the whole lot. And I re-knit the brim, and I did a 1x1 rib because the pattern is actually a 2x2 ribbing on the brim, but I wanted a 1x1 ribbing. And I ripped out all the other fibre, the other yarn, and I picked it up and picked up the stitches, and I used all the yarn that from the wristies and finished the hat. It's still, I think it could have done 1 inch of length before it was finished, but it works fine. And I'm going to try and put it on now. I've got a hair clip in, so it's going to look really bad after I take this off, but it would sit further on my head. But so it's wearable now where it wasn't before, but I'm still not happy with it. I will wear it now because I can wear it now, but I'm still not happy with it. Willow. They climb on the sash windows and they jump right up and then they fall off. So the reasons I'm not happy with it, I re-went back to the photos from the movie on Google, and it's not quite right. I did a 1x1 rib brim because I liked it, but also actually on the movie it is a 1x1 rib brim. The pattern that I used is a 2x2, so that's the first difference. But so I like this now, I like this 1x1 ribbing, although it would be better. This yarn's got a lot of cotton in it. There's like very little stretch in it. It's quite stiff. Not stiff, but it's got no stretch. And on the pattern, it is a free pattern. On the pattern it's got, every time we do one of these pearl ribs, one stitch is knitted instead, so you get this effect of these lines to separate the hat into segments, because on the movie it is in like 8 segments, and after you've done the brim, you actually double each stitch up. You increase every stitch, so you have twice as many stitches here as you do on the ribbing. But I had a really good look at the close-ups of the movie, and it's not done that way on the movie hat. Plus it should have a pom-pom, but I ran out of yarn. So, on the movie, from what I can tell, is you knit the brim, and then you start your pattern, which this pattern is the same. It's stockinette with a garter rib in it. Every time you get to, you've done your knit rows, every time you come to do your purl row, they've done a make one left, and make one, either a make one left or a left leaning increase, or whatever you want to call it. That's what creates that pattern on the movie hat. But it also means that you don't have twice as many stitches right down here at the head. You just have one more stitch, and then the next repeat of this pattern you have another for each segment. So you're going to gain 8 stitches on the first after your ribbing, and then you're going to gain another 8 stitches when you get to this next ridge, and then another 8 stitches, and then there's interspersed around the hat, and that's what creates this ribbing. And I thought, and I looked at the hat on the movie, I'm thinking it's not quite right, and I couldn't figure out why, but I managed to find a close-up and figure that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to attempt to knit one more like the movie hat with this, and hopefully that'll work. If it does, I'll write up the pattern and I'll stick it as a free pattern on Ravelry. And I'm hoping, because these are, I think they're 100g balls. I have 2 in the lighter red. I'm hoping it's enough, because the yardage on this is not, oh no, I thought it was short. Actually it has got decent yardage. So I'm hoping this will be enough yardage to make the hat, because it uses a lot of yarn, to make the hat and make a pom-pom, hopefully. So that's my finished object, but also a future plan. I'll just pop that there. Willow, you're gonna fall. These kittens have a thing for spider webs. I have like a piece of fabric, see-through fabric across that window. Normally, I've drawn it back for the light, for filming, but cobwebs get behind there, and they seem to think cobwebs are a fine delicacy, so they're like, scoop it in. It's very strange. So where were we? I've moved her off the window. Okay. Any more finished objects? No. So we're on to WIPs. Works in progress. What have we got? I'm still working on the iced gingerbread socks that I was working on last time. I've got, hello, don't chew me on. This is Willow. Look at Willow. There we are. She's quite highly strung, that one. And that's Holly. Okay, she's back on the window. I'm almost finished the first one. I've done the toe and all up the foot, and it's the same pattern as the autumn ones. Yeah. And I have partridge heel, I don't know what that's, heel stitch, heel to flap, heel flap, and then I'm part way up the ankle. But I'm also part way through knitting the second one. And the reason is, let me show you that. I've got to show you, this yarn is gorgeous. This is from Mothie and the Squid. And the speckle, I'll show you actually. The yarn is this one, and it's half brown, half speckled, and it's called Iced Gingerbread. And the brown is also from Mothie and the Squid, and that's her chocolate cake. Now what I did was I bought 3 mini skeins. I bought 2 of the iced gingerbread and 1 of the chocolate cake. With the plan on, I'm going to knit the toes and the heels and the cuff in the chocolate cake. So this one, I've knitted it up until I have that much yarn left. And I will do the same with the second sock. Mostly because I'm a bit worried, I don't want to knit it so that it's got that much yarn left and find that the other one has 1 loop less of the iced gingerbread yarn. So I will get them both to the same length now, and then I will put them both on the same cable, and I will carry on knitting them 2 at a time until I use up the yarn on 1 or both of the iced gingerbread yarn. Then when that happens, I will re-ball this, whatever's left of this, because I haven't done the heel yet on the other sock. Whatever's left of it, I will wind it into a centre pull ball, because it isn't at the moment, and I will knit them both 2 at a time, 1 from the centre, 1 from the outside, until I use up all the yarn, and then I'll cast off, or till I'm almost finished, and then I'll cast off. So that's the plan for them, and I haven't been working on them a lot for the last week or so because I've been working on other things, like the hat, for example. But I'm also working on another hat. So that's the first week. These are just, I knocked these up myself. I don't have any fancy, I made mine out of fabric scraps, but they did the job. I'm really pleased with them. Everybody shows off their project bags. There's my project bag. Okay, my next W.I.P is another hat, and it is, this is why I pronounce this wrong, because you know, Berkelauf, from Helena Magnuson. And it's this one, and it's these birch leaves, this beanie with birch leaves on it. It's really pretty, and it's stranded colourwork. I've never done stranded colourwork. I did mention in my last podcast that I was going to challenge myself to learn how to do stranded colourwork, because I want to do the tortoise and the hare wrist warmers that I have the yarn for, and have had the yarn for a long time, by Kate Davies. Plus there's other ones I want to do, but so I started for this one. This is done in an Aran weight. Got a good ease into it. Should be fairly quick. So I did loads of swatches, and my husband decided he liked the swatches, so I thought I'll make the hat for him. So he picked out 2 colours from my stash, and they're not fancy yarns. I'm using a mystery yarn, which is a double knit weight from my stash. It's an odd yarn. It's got, I think it's got a wee bit of cotton in it, a little bit, maybe a bit of wool, and mostly acrylic, and I'm holding it double, so I've made a centre pull ball for it, and that's my contrast colour. And my main colour is this huge beast of a ball, which is Stylecraft Special Aran with wool, and it's in silver birch colourway. And I bought this actually to make stuff for myself, but for some reason I'm using it for him. But it's huge. It's one of these 400 gram balls, so it's gonna go quite a long way, and it's perfect for hats for around in the garden and stuff, where it doesn't matter if it gets mucky and stuff, because you can wash it. So that's what and so far I have knit the ribbing. You'll have to excuse my knitting because it's the first strand of colourwork I've done, so my tension is all over the place. But I've done the ribbing, and I've started doing the patterning. You can't see very well on camera. It actually shows up quite well in real life. The contrast is just enough. You can kind of see on the ribbing, it's got enough contrast there. My husband's not big on bright colours, I'm surprised it actually chose these ones because it's quite light, but there's a decent bit of contrast between them, so when the pattern's really starting to come up the hat, you'll see it quite well. And it's actually gone really quickly. I'm pleased with my floats. They're not too tight, or at least I don't think they're too tight. Let me try. See, they're quite decent, and I've got quite a bit of stretch in there, so I'm assuming they're fine. I keep looking at my screen again, apologies. If you want to, these little stitch markers, they're so cute. These are little honeycomb hexagons, and they are from, I couldn't remember this last time, Fripperies and Bibelots. Fripperies and Bibelots. I think it's frippandbib.com. And the stitch marker came free with them as well, which is a little 2018. And the one on the other end, that is one of mine. One that I made, a little spinning wheel, which I'm really pleased with. It's one of my favourites at the moment. So yeah, that's coming on quite quickly. This morning, for example, just doing my, I was having my cuppa and watching podcasts, funnily enough, and I'm on to row, I'll be doing row 11 next. So I did 6 rows this morning, just over a cuppa, and it went really quick. The trouble I'm finding, I'm not convinced I've done the corrugated rib right. I will have to double check that on YouTube, but it looks fine, so I'm not going to rip it back, but I'm not convinced. And I'm just not sure on the increases. My tension's kind of a bit all over the place. Pardon my accent. It's a bit all over the place. I'm knitting, I usually knit English style, with throwing the yarn with my right hand, and I'm holding the contrast yarn in my left and knitting continental, which I've not done before. But I tried doing it with both, where you hold both strands with your dominant hand, and I didn't like it. I preferred actually using both hands, which surprised me when I was doing the test knitting of the swatches. So it's coming out fine. My contrast yarn is not, the tension on it's not very even. But I'm sure once it's finished and kind of stretched out and blocked, if I block it, once it's on your head, I think it'll be fine. But it's a good start and intro to doing stranded knitting wear. It's growing really fast, it's fairly simple, so I can highly recommend this pattern if you want to start stranded colour work. This is a good one. The only thing I would say is, if you're kind of nervous about it, is maybe not start with the, well, I'll start with the corrugated rib, and I like it. But it would maybe be easier if you're really nervous about stranded work, could be to do just a plain rib, maybe plain 1x1 rib. But I mean, I didn't think it was too much. I had trouble with my first swatch and I couldn't figure out why I couldn't, it was just not working right. And what I discovered was, I was thinking, oh, I can keep my pearl yarn, my main yarn, in the front of my work, and my contrast yarn the back, and just purl and move my needle. But it didn't work because my floats weren't carrying, and it was just looked weird, and I couldn't figure out why. And I realised I just had to keep swapping the yarn like you would normal. So when you came to do your purl, when you had to bring, although I'd been doing my knit in the contrast yarn, I still had to bring my main yarn forward to do my purl stitch and then take it back again before doing my contrast yarn. Whereas before, what I'd try to do was keep my main yarn at the front and just knit and then move my needle and purl and keep my yarn in the two different, and it just didn't work, and I just couldn't figure out why. Obvious kind of when you think about it. But so yes, so it's coming on quite nicely. I'm really pleased with it, and the plan is I'd like to knit myself one of these as well, but there's lots of hats I want to knit myself, so I'm kind of glad my husband picked this one, because it means I get to test it, but it also means I can try some other patterns as well for myself. So that's my main WIP at the moment. Another WIP that I have is actually not a, well, it is fibre, but it's not knitting or spinning. It is a quilt that I'm making for my in-laws. My husband is going to make, he's going to stitch a a patch to go on the back to say, well, you know, the date and who it was made by. But all I did was I'm not going to be able to see what I'm doing here, hang on. It is a jelly roll quilt. I think it's called Jelly Roll Race. That's a cat jumping down. Let me sit back down. And it's really, really simple because I'm not a big quilter. I like the finished result. I don't like doing it. I find it frustrating. I get frustrated with my sewing machine, and it's knitting is therapeutic, cross stitch is therapeutic, spinning is therapeutic. I enjoy the process. Sewing, I don't. I can sew, I don't enjoy it. Actually quite enjoy top stitching by hand. I like hand stitching. So the jelly roll we used, well, no, you can't sit on the quilt, is called Dogwood Trails 2, and it's a Moda jelly roll. And I saved back some strips. I calculated it all out and saved back enough strips to do the binding. And the back, I keep looking at the screen, and the back is I can't remember if it's a top sheet or a duvet cover that I picked up from the charity shop years ago, and I've used it for various bits and pieces, and there was enough left, a big enough piece left to be able to use as backing fabric, which is really pretty. So it's been bound with pieces of jelly roll, and all I've got to do is use some, I haven't got them, yeah, I have got them to hand. I'm going to use one of these threads. It's a quartz thread, and I will do some top stitching on it. Not much. Probably where these diagonals are, I'll just do like a double stitch either side maybe. I don't want to do a huge amount of top stitching, and I don't do lots and lots of swirly whirlies. That's just too much stitching. So that's the plan for that. And like I said, my husband's going to embroider a patch, and then I'll sew it on the back, and then it's going to be shipped south for his parents, Prezi. So it's nearly done, but not quite. Oh, where can I put that? I'll put that there. Okay, next. That's finished object. That's, what else have we got? Let me just check my notes. Whips. Right, okay. So, ooh, acquisitions. Now, acquisition, obviously there was the yarn I got from my friend. I also got a book. Because I'm knitting Twig from Tiny Owl Knits, I decided to finally get them. I haven't really got any knitting books. All my stuff's been bought on Ravelry, which is great because then I can just buy the pattern that I want. But I'd like to have a few knitting books around so that if I can't get on the computer, I can knit something. And I finally got myself a copy of Woodland Knits by Tiny Owl Knits, Stephanie Dawson. And I really want to knit the Catching Butterflies wristies that were, I believe originally they were in the Molly Makes magazine, and I saw them on the cover. I'm sure these are the ones I saw on the cover, and I really like them. What's those there? And I'm quite keen at some point of doing the bear sweater, or my bear it's called. There's a few. I just really like her patterns. Some of them are a little bit impractical, but and I really like, oh, I really like this one. I like, find the Woodland Hoodlet. It's like a little cape, but it also has the hood attached to it as well. I have something similar already, but it's just a scarf with a hood attached. And oh my god, thank you. I'm trying not to show the actual written instructions on the other side. That's them. So that was one of my acquisitions. And my second one, was, I mentioned it in the previous podcast, I got 2 custom spinning bats made up by Nicole at Frost Yarn for my birthday. They were done back in December and they've been sitting upstairs in their cellophane packaging. I've seen them end on, but I haven't actually took them out of the bags for my birthday, which was towards the beginning of the month. So I was waiting until my birthday until I could open them, and I did, and I filmed it, so hopefully I can insert some footage in here somewhere. Plus I took some photos, so I'll try and get some photos up on the screen somewhere here. But if not, I will have photos coming up in a second. And I also videoed me them because they're so full of sparkle. They're like got loads of, it's got superwash merino and bamboo and silk and Firestar and Angelina, and they're just gorgeous. And one of them is like a red through shades of red through to silver and through to white, and the other one is shades of bottle green through silver to white. So hopefully they should either have been inserted here, or they will be, or they have been. So gorgeous and I love them, and I can't wait to spin them. I'm thinking perhaps she specifically made the bats when I mentioned that I spin usually at around a DK weight. So the red one, I'm maybe thinking of splitting the bat in half, so there's the red through to the white, splitting it in half that way and spinning them two plies and then just spinning them together, so keep the colour run. The green one, I'm thinking maybe of just spinning it one end to the other as a gradient, because I wanted them both as gradient yarns, but maybe doing it as a single, a fine, not a really fine, but you know, like a fine-ish single. They were made up for a fine spinning, and then making a shawl with it. I'm thinking of making shawls with both of them, but maybe it's just doing a single with the green, just for some variation, just something a bit different. So I'm really looking forward to this. So sparkly, so pretty. I wear a lot of red around the winter time, so that's gonna look really nice. Maybe it's a cowl. I don't know, I might do a shawl with that too. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how I could get a cowl to work and still show the gradient really well. Whereas a shawl, I could knit a triangular shawl and have it going either across this way or maybe from the point upwards. I'm not sure yet. So that was my other main acquisition. I don't think there's any others. I think that's just thankfully. I have actually got another knitting book on its way, but it hasn't arrived in the post yet. So, future plans. Obviously, this is the finishing of the hat that I'm knitting, but also one of the patterns I was thinking of using for the bats, or for a couple of other hand spuns that I've done recently, is this pattern. So I'm going to just avoid showing off the pattern entirely. Is this pattern here, The Age of Brass and Steel Kerchief by Orange Flower Yarn. I've done it in black and white, so again you can't really see very well, but it's just kind of got these, it's really simple. I have done it in colour. It's very simple. It's mostly stockinette with some eyelet detailing in it, and I thought it'd be a nice way of using up some of the yarns I got. They're just like kind of 100 grams. I've got some other fibre to spin up. There's one that's in shades of pink as well, so that's one of the things I'm planning on making in the near future. Also, I really want to knit. This is a future plans, as I don't think I'm going to get this done anytime. Well, I won't get it finished anytime soon because it's going to take a while. I really want to knit the Wintersol sweater by Jennifer Steinglass. Jennifer Steinglass. Isn't that gorgeous? It's been all over Instagram and podcasts, and it's so pretty. I'm tempted to do it, to steek it and make it into a cardigan, because I wear cardigans more than I wear sweaters. I don't have many like proper sweaters. I can count up one hand how many sweaters I have. And we live somewhere cold. You've usually got to have a sweater or a cardigan on the majority of the time. The heat's on quite hot today, hence I'm not. And also you tend to wear a lot of cowls all year round here. Orkney, it never gets bitterly cold. It actually really was this morning. We had a really hard frost, which is not common. We get a handful a year, really. It's rare for it to dip below sort of -2 Celsius at its coldest. But in the summer, it's rare to get above 20 Celsius. So that's what, double it and add 30. So 40, 70 Fahrenheit-ish is kind of maximum. We did have a bit of a heat wave a few years ago where it got up to 24. It was scorching. And so even in the summer, it's not, you can wear a cardigan over a dress, you know. So I'd really like to knit this, and I looked online, I looked at different yarns, and I'm like and ahhing, and I saw somebody had made this and had made a cardigan, and it steeked it and made a cardigan in different shades of grey, and I loved it, and it's perfect. I wear a lot of light grey. I love light grey. It's one of my favourite colours. Light silvery grey and red are my favourite colours. So I thought I could do with a grey cardigan. The grey ones I've got at the moment are all short bought ones, and they tend to have a lot of cotton or viscose. Not very warm. They're okay in the summer, not so good at this time of year. And the one that I do have, it's got like mohair in it. It's a short bottom. It's got like wool. It's wool and mohair, but it's scratchy. Mohair I find really scratchy against my neck. So I want to knit this. Now I had a thought. Upstairs in the loft, in the attic rooms, I have some North Ronaldsay fleeces that I bought quite a while ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and I've got 5 or 6 North Ronaldsay fleeces. North Ronaldsay is a local rare breed sheep, and they live mostly just on one of the Orkney islands called North Ronaldsay, and in the summer months they live on the beach. In fact, they live on the beach pretty much most of the year round, and they eat seaweed. And the meat's got a really quite a nice taste. It's a nice meat, and it's a nice fleece. The fleece it's really down. It's got lots of like downy, soft, squishy fibre, but it's also got quite a lot of the guard hairs. When I've bought commercially spun North Ronaldsay, I bought some lace weight to sell, to dye from my shop, and I couldn't sell it. It was so coarse. It was not pleasant. I don't know, I might have to look at it and see if I can do something with it. But the fleeces I've got are absolutely gorgeous, and there's not that many guard hairs in them, and the bit that I've spun up before, it's really soft, you know. I don't know why this commercial stuff was so bad. Anyway, so I've got quite a lot of it, and it's all different colours. It's all different shades. I've got some darker grey and some light grey, and there's some almost white in there. So I'm thinking of doing sort of like a light grey in the body, and then like a white in the yoke, and then the contrast in the darkest grey they've got. Because I don't have a lot of the dark grey, but I have quite a lot of the lightish to mid grey. So I'd like to do that. I would like to think that I could get it done soon, but I've got to card it and spin it a sweater's worth, and that's a lot of yarn. It's an Aran weight or a worsted weight, so it would spin up quicker than fingering, obviously. But I just don't think it's going to get done this winter, or I don't know, we'll have to see, because we've got Edinburgh Yarn Festival coming up, obviously, and I hadn't planned on going originally, but I think I might just. So I will probably be going to the Edinburgh Yarn Festival for at least one of the days. I don't yet know if it'll be the Friday or the Saturday, depends on transport. I was thinking, like, there's so many people going to Edinburgh Yarn Festival from all over the world, and I live in Scotland, what's my excuse? But there is a stretch of water between me and the Scottish mainland, which makes it a little trickier. So I'm not sure what day I'll be there, but if you do see me there, come and say hi. I might be like, oh my god, somebody's just spotted me, I don't know who they are. But, you know, come say hi, it'll be fine. If you do see me there. And I'm obviously looking forward to seeing lots of other podcasters there, which will be really, really nice. So that's my main future plan. This is like the big thing. I've got all these fleece upstairs and it's just sitting there. So, but carding it is going to be the time consuming part. So that is future plans as far as that's concerned. And I think that about wraps up all the Fibre stuff. I'll just check. I think that's everything. I just dropped my notes. Yeah. And I dropped something else. Never mind. So yes, so let's think. Is there anything else? I don't think so. I hopefully will get another podcast out quite soon. Especially now we've got a bit of light. We don't get a huge amount of daylight in the winter in Orkney. We're quite high up, so in December time we only get the sun's doesn't. I'm locking the chickens at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it doesn't get light again until sort of like 9 o'clock in the morning properly. But then again, in June, in June we get so much light, it never really gets dark. I've took photos, I should video on for when we get to sort of like May, June time. I'll have to go outside at like 11:30, 12 o'clock at night and video, because it's daylight out there. It's very, very strange. I watched a video recently. I saw a short video recently. I think Ellie of Skin Deer had recorded it back home in Norway, and she'd recorded it at like 11:30 at night, and it's just broad daylight, and that's pretty much what it's like here. It's maybe slightly duskier, but it is daylight. You can read a book at like midnight in the house and not have to put a light on. And you can't sleep. I can't sleep. It's like trying to sleep when you've been on night shift. It's just really bad. But in the winter we get hardly any light. But today is a really bright and sunny day, and now the days are getting longer, so I'll get a bit more filming time hopefully. And fortunately the light's actually worked out okay. We haven't been blinded by the sun, so that's good. So yes, that's my plans. That's what I've been up to, and hopefully I will see some of you at Edinburgh Yarn Festival. And yeah, so thank you for watching. If you like, feel free to hit the subscribe button below. I will put all that's my tummy rumble. I'll put all the show notes below also, and I will also put them on my website madmadamel.com. I will also put the show notes and all the links to everything that I've shown and talked about down there as well. And also feel free to come over to Instagram. If you need to get in touch with me, that's the place to find me. I'm also on Ravelry. I'm just starting to get involved with the Ravelry forums, so you might see me floating around on there. And but Instagram is where I spend the majority of my social media time. So okay, so thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.